Hi everyone, and my name is Doug Peck, and welcome to Southborough Connects. If this is your first time here, this show is really dedicated to helping people understand what's going on in the town, what particularly of interest, and particularly in town government. We have a few other things that we do as well, but the main function right now is to add a little transparency to things going on in town government. Today we have a big thing going on that a lot of people may or may not be aware of. It's the building of a new school over near, either replacing Neary or something about Neary in that area that's coming up. And today I have a person who's going to talk about that, Roger Challen, who is a long-term Southborough resident and member of the Southborough School Committee, who has been working on this project for the last, as we were talking, probably almost 3 years. So welcome, Roger.
Doug, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Welcome. So this is, we're prepping you a little early to give you some time to think about things. This is something that will more than likely be on the town warrant in our town meeting in May?
Next year?
Next year.
Next May, correct.
Next May, yes. So there's plenty of time to think about it, but it is a really major project. It has a lot of implications to the town. So I want people to, be aware of it as early as possible. So tell us a little bit about sort of who you are. You're on the Southborough School Committee, and what is this process that you've gone through? What are we looking at here?
Well, so as you, I think, know, Doug, I've been a Southborough resident for 50 years. This is actually my 50th year anniversary.
Wow.
this month. We moved in Thanksgiving in 1974.
Wow.
I've had a lot of, I've been on a lot of different town boards and committees, some elected, some appointed, and I've been on the school board for I think probably about 10 years. Wow. I am by far the senior member, and I'll use that word with two meanings.
Yeah.
I'm the senior member on the committee, and I'm the only senior on the committee, which I think is it's important to have that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It says I don't have kids in the schools today, and I think I have the same concerns as other seniors. As far as tax dollars, quality of the town.
Mm-hmm.
So in addition to being on the school board, I'm the school board's representative to the Neary School Building Committee.
Okay.
Or NBC, Neary Building Committee. And this, I think I just want to mention that I think we have about 30 minutes or less. And sometimes the way I answer questions, it'll seem like even less than that, because I'll go on a little bit. But I want to let folks know, especially the seniors, that we're really very interested in making sure that seniors get all the information that they need. And we've already had one meeting at the senior center. I think in the newsletter that went out for November, December, we've got another session. It's a coffee and donut session on the 18th of this month at 1 p.m.
Oh, good.
So hopefully people will attend that, because I think since this is really just a short question and answer period for the two of us, there can be maybe a lot more questions coming from other seniors that we'd like to take the opportunity to make sure that they know the answers to them. Do you want me to talk about?
Yeah, talk about the committee. It was formed to do what? What's going on at Neary that caused the select board to start a committee? So
Neary is Neary's the oldest school we have. It's over 50 years old. Talk a little bit more about what that means, but this process has been going on longer than most people realize. It's, as I say, almost 3 years. At the beginning of 2022, the select board really created the Neary Building Committee. And it's basically a committee of 7 voting town citizens, a representative from the select board, a representative from advisory board, a representative from the school board, and a representative from the capital planning board. And then there's also 3 at-large members who basically were picked because of some construction and building expertise. We wanted to make sure that that we had that on the committee. And there was also a number of ex officio members, which include other members from town government, other members from the school district. It's a large committee. And as I say, it was formed at the beginning of 2022, and at town meeting in 2022, that's when the town approved the feasibility study for the Neary project, which is basically a school to replace Neary.
Or to either fix or replace Neary. Was that?
Yes, that's correct. To do something about the Neary School situation, because it was so old and has a lot of the other issues associated with being a very old school. So let me take you through a little bit of what's happened with the building committee since it was created. The building committee actually started to meet every month. And one of the important things that it did was get approval from the MSBA, which is the Massachusetts School Building Authority, for the project. Now, the reason that we did this is because the MSBA provides 2 really important things. One is money. If they approve a project, they provide significant funding directly to the town for the project, but they also provide a lot of expertise. They were created by the state to manage these capital projects in different school districts, and they've done dozens and dozens of them. They keep your feet to the fire as far as process, making sure you're paying attention to the right things. And I think probably the expertise, although the money's important for sure, I think the expertise is extremely valuable. And so they effectively walk you through and approve the process from beginning to end. So as I said, the committee was created at the beginning of 2022. We got MSBA to sign on the beginning of 2023. And then we had 2 more important steps to go through with them. The first one was to pick an owner's project manager, which is basically a firm that manages the project. That was chosen with the approval of the MSBA. We had to interview a number of firms, and then the MSBA interviewed those firms also. They were chosen at the beginning of, they were chosen at the beginning of, a little bit later in 2023, after the MSBA came on board. At the end of 2023, we then had to pick a design firm, and I kind of look at that firm as the architects, but they really are more than just architects. They really are experts in design of the whole project. So they were picked again with the MSBA approval and working with the owner's project manager at the end of 2023, and final approval was at the beginning of 2024. So that's really when things started to move forward. Shall I talk a little bit more about what's happened in 2024 with them, or?
Well, I don't care, if we go step by step with them, but right now, we were talking earlier, you looked at a number of options, is what you were telling me. As you were going through this process, about how many were you looking at? What did you start with? And did you start with, hey, what happened? Can we fix Neary? Is that something that's doable? What's the major issue around Neary right now?
Well, let me talk about the options.
Okay.
Let me talk about how the role that evaluating the options played, and then also about, can we just fix Neary?
Okay.
So the process, once the design firm came on board, was to actually have a number of meetings, and these meetings weren't just with the school building committee. We had constituencies from the entire town. We had teachers involved. We had district employees involved. We had town employees involved. We had parents involved. Sometimes you might have 30 people in a session, where we really focused on what are the educational needs of the town for going forward, and how does something, satisfy those educational needs, whatever it is. So as we worked our way through those, trying to define those needs, we did that without really being locked into a choice. And once we defined the needs, the MSBA really asked us to provide them with 12 alternatives. 12? So we actually had 12 different alternatives, some including replace Neary, some including things we could do with Finn, some including, they included all the schools, different grade configurations, whether it be a 4-grade school, 2, 3-grade schools. There were 12 different choices, and we worked our way through those, considering cost, considering how you would deliver the education to kids, considering the environment, considering a lot of factors. There were dozens of factors. And we worked through that process slowly. MSBA actually wanted to see, all right, well, here's the 12. Now give us your top 6.
Okay.
All right, now give us your top 4.
Okay.
There were many meetings and many hours spent on that evaluation until we finally came down to the choice, which is a 4-grade new Neary school.
Built on or near the Neary site?
Built on or near the Neary site.
Okay.
And the reason we chose, we did look at other sites, but I think there was somewhat of a foregone conclusion that if we could make the Neary site work, and it had to work environmentally, it had to work logistically, but if we could make that work, it was probably the best choice, whether it was a 4-grade or a 2-grade school, because you really have an educational campus to some degree, where you have Neary right down a private road, if you will. It's not to the middle school. Right. So you've got some things that you can share between an elementary school and the middle school. You don't have to you don't have to get out on public roads to go between the two. So we did make it work, but we really had to put some time in to make sure that it was the right choice. Did I answer everything that you wanted? Yeah, I think you did. So we're looking at a 4-grade school right now, right? Replacing Neary. And replacing Finn. And replacing Finn. So the grades are? So the grades will be 2 through 5. And let me just speak more about replacing Finn. So the building that will be replaced is Finn. But the grades at Finn will move to Woodward. Okay. Originally, and we may talk about this a little more, originally we looked at Woodward as a possible, we looked at it as a possible municipal building, to house a lot of town facilities, town offices. But when we went to the MSBA, and we wanted them to fund a significant part of this project, to tell them we were retiring our newest school
Yeah.
was a non-starter.
Right.
So that didn't stay on our plans very long. So the plan is to move kindergarten and first grade to Woodward
Okay.
from Finn, have a 4-grade school at the Neary site, which is
Okay.
2nd through 5.
Yes.
And
Then middle school, the Trotter
and the middle school is there. And,
Okay.
and we may talk about this further, and the school that'll be retired would be Finn.
Okay.
I think we should talk a little bit about how we're going to accomplish putting a new school right where another school exists today.
Okay.
Cost is important, very important. So we looked at a lot of different ways to minimize the cost. If you build a new structure on an existing foundation, if it's a solid foundation, well, then you don't have to go through all the cost of create a new foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And this school would expand a little bit past the existing foundation, but it would be a multiple story school. So
Okay.
you're not going to go out as far as you'd have to as if it was all one
Mm-hmm.
story. We're going to move one of the Neary grades to Woodward and move another of the Neary grades to Finn. And to do so, we're going to have some temporary trailers and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the sort of thing that you could keep forever.
Right.
But it looks like we can do it for the 2-year period that it'll take to build the school if we have the entire site available to build,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to trying to build a school right next to an existing school and then dealing with all the logistics
Right.
of construction,
Right.
near kids who are in school,
Mm-hmm.
and all of the issues associated with that.
Mm-hmm.
Building from a fresh site, which is effectively will be a fresh site once you
Mm-hmm.
tear Neary down, reduces the length of the project.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to kind of do, I think with Algonquin, what we did was we did it a little differently,
Mhm.
because we kind of kept the existing school in place and added to it. But if you're doing this from a fresh start, you can cut probably a year off of the construction time
Mhm.
for the project, and that saves a significant amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's the same, just the time of not having to have the overhead continue for an extra year is the least expensive way to do it.
Mm-hmm. So why did you decide not to just fix Neary?
That's a great question. If anyone hasn't had a chance to tour Neary, and at certain points in times, it can't be done all the time. They're offering tours through Neary.
Mm-hmm.
To fix Neary, so if you try to replace a bulletin board, take it off a wall
Mm-hmm.
at Neary today, you run into asbestos problems. So
Okay.
it's a significant health issue, all right?
Okay.
And so you would have to spend a significant amount of money just to kind of fix the things that needed to be fixed. And the minute you get into that, as you know, when you change a building to a certain percentage, then you have to get into all of the ADA compliance issues, which to do that with Neary would be even more significant.
You have to grade everything up to code.
You have to bring, you're right, exactly right. You have to bring everything up to code. So what you'd end up with is you'd end up with an old ADA compliant, very expensive school
Mm-hmm.
that still wouldn't provide you any of the benefits that a new school would provide you, and the cost would still be extraordinary.
And you would have to you'd have to close the school anyway to do that, right? Right?
You
Or
would.
not?
You
Yeah.
would. Well, look, you'd certainly have to close the part of the school that you'd be repairing.
Right.
So you'd get into the same costs. One of the things we found, and we looked, when we looked at these options, we looked a long time at, can we afford a 4-grade school?
Mm-hmm.
And when you start out with a budget and then you realize we can't spend that much,
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of time spent kind of reducing the cost, to still do it in a way where you really weren't eliminating the educational benefits,
Mm-hmm.
but in some instances you didn't build certain types of rooms. In some instances you reduced the size of the rooms. It really came down, and the finance subcommittee on the building committee looked pretty closely at this. It came down, so in the end, the difference in cost between the new 4-grade school versus a new 2-grade school, and then having to upgrade Finn,
Mm-hmm.
was really surprisingly close. The other thing that you get as a benefit from a new 4-grade school,
Mm-hmm.
is all of the things you've built into this school for 2 grades, now you get for all 4 grades. The operating cost, measurably less, because you're doing things that are environmentally more sound, that are more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
So if the fact you only have one facility, now you're dealing with school busing in a
Mm-hmm.
much more effective way. You're dealing with certain types of collaboration that can occur within the school that you can't really do between 2 schools that
Mm-hmm.
are geographically separated. So the operating cost of the school itself, and that comes out of the school budget every year.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we would have to bond this, which has a tax effect for sure,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I'm not sure how long the bond is for, but even though we would have to bond this, we would get a reduced operating cost to kind of mitigate somewhat on the other side of that as far as folks' taxes are concerned.
Mm-hmm. So is this would you call this a real sort of state-of-the-art school? I mean, I've been to brand new senior centers where all the electronic stuff is built in. I mean, you don't have just a separate TV on the wall that you need to plug in. Everything is just really modernized when it comes to that Wi-Fi through things where you need it, all the new technology. Because I can imagine it's like buying a new car. The difference is the engines are the same, but you have all this new technology that comes out every year that really can be helpful in education.
Yes, it will be a state-of-the-art school. And another thing, not just a state-of-the-art school, if you take a look at what's happened, so Neary was built in the 70s. And I think that when it was built,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was just in town,
Mm-hmm.
so my kids went to Neary,
Mm-hmm.
the first, the new Neary at the time. When you take a look at even the types of special purpose rooms
Mm-hmm.
that you're using today, and there's a music room, there's a special ed room, there's an art room. These things today are built specifically with that purpose in mind.
Mm-hmm.
In Neary, at the point in time you decided you'd have some music, you had to pick something and just use it.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the rooms that are used for special purposes really weren't designed for those purposes.
Mm-hmm.
You're just using them because they're there.
Mm-hmm.
So you get all those advantages for all 4 grades, not just for the 2 of them. So in addition to state of the art, it's having a space specifically created for the purpose that it's going to be used.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot for folks to consider here. Can you give me a rough estimate of what they're looking at in terms of what a new building would cost? I mean, a range?
Well, I'm going to say less than $100 million, but I'm going to say you're talking about this. This will be the largest capital project that Southborough's ever been involved in. Now, and I'm not talking about the high school, okay, but I'm talking the Southborough citizens.
Bigger than the public safety building.
Yes, definitely bigger than the public safety building. This is so it's important. I mean, it is very important. It's significant. It's significant that people understand what the benefits are, and if they agree with those benefits, that they will support this. And when you think about, so as a senior, I think, well, you know, why do I care about having a new school? You know, I don't have kids in school anymore. Well, you know, I've got my taxes to worry about.
Right.
I think we recognize that Southborough is a preferable place to live, and unfortunately, we don't have enough affordable housing in town. But that's a different story for a different time, which is
or other businesses in town, to share the tax.
For sure.
burden.
So, but not only do people want to live here because of the schools, but people want to work here in the schools, like teachers, and it's a very competitive business. So to get good teachers that want to work here, they want to come to a town that is supporting education. So I think that that good schools allow you to maintain the quality of where you live, even if you don't necessarily have a child in the school. There are some long-term benefits to that.
That's true. I hadn't really thought about. My wife's a teacher, or was a teacher, and I hadn't thought, you know, what attracts good teachers, because there are a lot of teachers retiring and bringing new ones in. It is competitive to try to find somebody really good to come into your school, and that's I know the quality of teachers that we've had here, because all my kids went through these schools, and they've been really top notch for the most part.
And not only, and I think we're pretty proud of that. And not only are the teachers, you know, the teachers recognize that the benefit of teaching in a town that supports education sometimes is worth giving up on some other benefits. You know, so it's been very important for us. My wife was a teacher for a while also, and when she moved to town, she took a careful look at the different school systems that she was going to apply to, because it made a difference.
It does.
But seniors are such an important group in town. I think they make up 30% of our population.
Not yet, but about 23% of our population right now. So it's a significant number of seniors. And so this is one reason, though, why we wanted to have you on here, to give people an opportunity to really think this through and have time to consider all the options. Because it is complicated and it's big, and we know it's going to impact the taxes. So I'm going to encourage everybody to, you know, look it up, call the senior center to get the exact time of that meeting. Did you say the 18th of November?
It's going to be the 18th. We'll do more than one.
Okay.
This is the first one where the superintendent and I actually came over to spend some time talking with the Dull Men's Club.
Yep.
Okay. A lot of great questions came out of that. And one of them, if I might, one of them was what are we doing to make sure that we're not building something that's too big or too small if we're going to spend this money to build something new. That's been a process that we've been evaluating over several years. There's a firm called NESDEC, and they really do student population forecasting. Pretty much everyone in the state, all the school systems in the state use them. The Southborough student population isn't really increasing significantly. It's leveled off to some degree. But we were still concerned enough about all right, even though we've been using NASDAQ and everybody else uses them, we went out and actually hired a second firm to see what they would say.
Okay.
And they actually confirmed what the NASDAQ figures were, a little different, but so we want to make sure that when this gets done, all of a sudden we're not turning around saying, you know, we need more classrooms.
We need more classrooms. Right. Right. Good. Well, our time is about up, but I want to thank Roger for coming. We'll put some information at the end of this where you can know where to go to get more information if you'd like it. And by all means, come to the Senior Center where you can ask very specific questions, anything that this show might have given you pause for.